Learning English Part 2. Alright, so learning the gist of English was Part 1. But studying it in college? Oh boy, there is so much that I have to tell you guys about. So as some of you may know, I went to college to a course called Modern Languages. The way it works is that you choose 2 of these languages to study, and in the 3 years that the degree lasts, you have to positively pass 6 levels of both those languages and a class of literature, linguistics, and culture. Most people that sign up for this degree, myself included, sign up in English for similar reasons as I had. And bro, some of the people on this degree, some of them were lazy, some of them were stupid, some of them were lazy and stupid, but I don't want to talk about the colleagues of mine, at least not the bad ones. We will have that when I talk about Italian. Let's talk about the professors responsible for teaching us English. Also, the way your academic work is evaluated in the form of 0 out of 20. In order to pass a class, you need to have a bare minimum of 9.5. Keep that in mind, because I'm gonna come back to that scale sometimes during this video. Even if you don't reach that grade through periodic assessment, there is also something in Portugal called recurso, which is another exam that you do. If you pass, you just pass, so you can use it to up your grades. And yeah, that's also an important detail for this video. Keep that in mind. So let me tell you how each level of English went like, because each one of them, well, maybe except English 6, was a Kar-ay-zay Adventure. English 1. The feeling of being a freshman. Responsibilities were light. The world is our oyster, and in your first week, you don't even have to attend lecturers. The professor, sent us an email stating where my very first lecture would be held, and it coincided with the day of my birthday. So you would think that with me being a freshman and with it being my birthday, and even on top of that not being a necessary lecture to attend, I would just skip it and enjoy my nice freshman life. You know what? I didn't skip it. So I brought my pretty little butt into the college campus, arrived in my faculty, asked one of the staff members where the room was, only to find out that the lecture wasn't even gonna be in the actual faculty, but in a parallel building. And you know those old, huge castles from medieval times that look very maze-like? That's how that building felt like. It was pretty on the inside, it had some nice architecture, but it was so difficult to navigate. So I blindly looked around for my classroom, and in this maze I came across a man that looked like he worked in the office. I asked him in Portuguese, "Trabalha aqui?" And this man that literally looked like Mr. Wobblyman from Noddy said in one of the thickest Irish accents I've ever heard, "You here for the class? Yeah, just on the hall. Just found your colleague. Sit down." My Irish accent is terrible. I'm so sorry. And the downward spiral just continued. This one time I was a little fussy in the lecture, and that very same teacher told me twice to be quiet. Then a colleague of mine asked me something related to the class, and a second after I turned my head to answer it, the teacher yelled, "Boy, this my patience! Just leave!" And I never said a single word afterwards. Not that I ever heard from that colleague ever again. I ended up scoring a 13 out of 20 in that level of English. But I wasn't happy, so I went to recurso and managed to get an extra point. So, level 1 of English, I got a 14. This confidence would soon disappear. English 2. I decided to change my lecture this semester because everyone kept talking about this nice little lady called, because I don't want to use her real name, let's call her Pit Stop. Professor Pitstop. She was a super sweet British lady. Her classes were boring, but she wouldn't mind if I didn't pay attention or arrived like 30 minutes late. Unlike Professor Mr. Wobblyman that would destroy me if I arrived 2 minutes late. And I ended up scoring a 16 out of 20 in that term. And unfortunately, my class was one of the last she taught. And boy, would I need to have her in the next semester, because once we got to English 3, things got very terrible. So with the 2 lecturers I came to know completely gone, my choices this semester were a lecturer that not a single person has said a nice word about, another that made his students do papers right from English 1, boy was I stupid, and a newbie that we're gonna call Professor Scott. I decided to take my chances on this newbie professor this semester, and that choice was the worst choice I ever made in my whole entire life. He looked like a skater and he talked like a skater. In heavy rain autumn days, he would come to college in shorts and sandals, and red flags were waving when he decided to make us do a para project with someone in this room that you haven't really met yet. He even asked us if we could guess what part of America he was, and after a summer of me watching Superstore, a show about a store located in Missouri, out of the possible 50 states, I said, Missouri? And he said, but do I sound like I'm from Missouri? I don't think I have an accent, but yeah, I'm from Missouri. And then he kind of giggled, which was the only time I saw him do that. And things only started going downhill from there. This one time, he told us to do a paper on some boring text that he forced us to read, which was basically 30% of your final grade is resting on whether you deliver this final paper. If you don't, you'll get like a 0, guys. So if you want to have a 30% bonus, you better do it, okay? Guys! He said guys like a lot. Ugh. I followed all the guidelines that he imposed on us, only for him to barely look at my text and say, I'll give you half credit. And then he said some mumbo jumbo that honestly made it seem that he was out to get me. And I wasn't even the only one that this happened. One of my closest friends made such a superb text, and at the end of the lecture, he asked her to stay and asked her if she copied the whole text. Dude, integrity, where'd you left it? On our first periodic assessment, I managed to score a positive grade and an actually good one. I copied a lot from a girl, but we are not mentioning that. One thing that you need to understand is that in order to pass the course in Portugal, you need to have an average grade of 9.5 out of 20 in order to pass. By the end of the semester, my final grade was of a 9, right before Christmas. So, Christmas rolled around, and on the 26th, he sent an email to everyone planning on going to Recurso that he would be in the faculty bar in case anyone wants to see how its previous exam went like. I was so boiling mad from failing with a 9 that I said to my mom, I said to her, Mom, I'm not doing it. I hate that guy. My mom insisted because these little things do differentiate from a 9.4 to a 9.5. So I spent 8 euros on train tickets going back and forth. I arrived at the faculty, I sat down with him, we started seeing my exam, I asked him to make the math to see what my final average was. He made the calculations and said that my final grade was 9.3. 9.3. 9.3! The nerve of failing me with 0.2 of a point. 0.2 of a point! Look, I've always been a respectful student. If a teacher has ever corrected me, I took it on the chin because they're trying to help me grow. But this wasn't the case. I hated him, and I knew he hated me for some reason. So I came back home, started studying hard, even harder than ever before. I do that goddamn exam, I score a 9, get admitted to do an oral exam, and I passed with a minimum 10. This level of English took such a toll on me. I felt like I couldn't speak English, so it was making me question all my content on YouTube. It kept me stressed and unable to focus on other classes I wanted to have a better grade at. It was also unnecessarily tedious and hard to follow because I couldn't begin to like the test he presented onto us. You suck a lot, Professor Scott. So the next semester I went to this professor that is absolutely illegal to hate, which I'll call Professor Scorn? Going to these lecturers were the height of my day. He clearly watched a lot of Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. He loved his wife oh so much, and sometimes his lectures could be a bit on the dull side because of the continuous references to Star Wars, especially for someone that has never watched those movies. But he was so passionate with everything he did and always had a smile on his face, even in the face of the COVID-19 breakout. He did a great job. I got my 15, a 50% increase from my previous level. And yeah, English 4 was a breeze. We love you, Professor Scorn! For the rest of my English journey, not much has happened except that English 5 was hard. We talked a lot of philosophy of communication, which made me nervous because I failed philosophy in high school. And the adventure on this level of English is probably for another video. Let's just say that I did manage to pass that level as well. Barely. And even though a bare pass would make me frustrated, in here I decided to go on and don't even look back. Let's forget about the past. What's done is done, and that is that. So in English 6, I had this nice lady. She overused the Zoom functionality of breakout groups and her lectures were a bit boring because of it, but she said that in order to sail by her class, you need to be an active participant, which is right up my alley, and I scored a 14. And yeah, that's it for professors I had in college teaching us English. I gotta say, I was completely blindsided by the fact that academic English isn't just about knowing how to speak English. Having a grasp on this language helped me just a bit, but not that much. And so making through this new form of English was definitely a challenge, and one that I can be proud that I overcame with the help of some people. One thing I felt the more I learned though is how useless it is to know about articles and prepositions, and I feel bad that people actually like that. But hey, no one is judging. But I'm sure I'm glad that I can speak and understand this language, and the possibilities are endless. Okay, bye.